Alrighty. Let's just make sure everything's working the way that it should. Looks like it is. Thank goodness. I am going to. I'm going to leave the audio for the music how it is because my voice is coming through pretty fine. I got a lot of stuff. New setup. I've got some fun things to hopefully be able to show you guys whilst streaming. But before I get started with that, hi. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mini Paint and Chill, where I mini paint and you chill to the beats that I play in the background. Today, we're just going to be doing, get this, a mini bit of everything. I got a bunch of stuff that needs to get painted. I'm probably going to do most of the painting today on a model that I will be using for my home game. It is a character model of an NPC that I have that is currently traveling with my party. So I'm going to be painting her today. Most likely, if I do any washes or anything like that, we'll move on. And yeah. So before I get started on that, a few quick things to get out of the way. One, if you aren't already following the channel, please do. If you have a financial ability to, please consider subscribing. Don't forget that if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free once per month to a stream of your choice. I would really appreciate it if that was me. If you'd like to financially support me other ways, you can do so by going to my website, wheelersminis.com, and purchasing something from there, of which there are some new stock options. That's also something I'm going to be working on over the next couple weeks. I don't know if I already said this, but follow me on all my socials, Wheelers Minis, on pretty much everything. Also, if you're on YouTube, hi YouTube, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I'd love to get to 100 subscribers by my birthday. That's like a month away, and I only need like 19 more. So if you could just share this with your friends, and if you need something going on in the background. I don't tend to talk too much, but it would really benefit me if you shared this. And if you like it, let me know. And if you don't, you can also let me know. But I probably won't listen as much because I'm trying to be more closed off with the negativity that I have in my life. But anyway, so my Eldritch Foundry character creation stream hasn't come out yet on video because I'm awaiting. There's been some issues. Not anything serious. It just seems like the model that I made didn't like the color engine, or the color engine didn't like it. So I'm waiting to get that resolved so I can finish doing that. So that might be up next week. Also, be sure to check out the socials for some stuff coming up possibly soon. I'm super excited about. I will be at Genghis Con at the end of the month in Aurora, Colorado. And yeah, I think that's about it. So while this isn't the character that I made for my character of the month Eldritch Foundry character creation, this is the character that I'm painting today. Luckily, she's pretty one-toned. It's going to be a lot of browns and greens because she is most of the work's probably actually going to be done on the her heroic mount. But yeah, she's a hunter through and through. So I'm thinking kind of an olive on the cape, lots of browns on the leathers. Probably going to start with the black brown on it, and then we'll go from there. But also give me a little bit of work on a skin tone because she's got some skin showing, not too much. But yeah, that's it. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start with the cloak. So in order to do the green that I want to do, we're gonna do we're gonna start with woodland camo somewhere on here. I didn't need that much, but that's fine. Yeah, we're gonna go from there. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in chat. I do my best to check every once in a while, but because of a bad habit of not checking, because there haven't been a lot of people who come in and stop by, I tend to forget to look. So forgive me if I don't get to it in a timely manner, but I will do my best. So right now we're just working on getting a good base coat down, and then we'll start working our way up from there. And this color is Woodland Camo, which is the lowest in the olive family, if I'm not mistaken. I also missed a couple of supports. That's fine. I'm not selling this, so not too worried about it. I was trying to think what would go best for her, but unfortunately it's really just going to be kind of woodland colors. She spends most of her time in the woods in my game, helping out local towns. So that's kind of how we're just going to paint her. Give her a nice base coat of this green, hit it up with an earth tone or a shade of some sort. And then start working the highlights over it. And then if at any point I need to let like shades or anything like that dry, I've got other things here that I can work on as well. But this character was made using Eldritch Foundry, who I have a really good relationship with, and I'm excited to paint her. I haven't painted anything on these heroic base poses yet. I ordered a colored print on one. So we'll see how it shows up. But it honestly goes very well with where I think the party is headed, and we've got a game this Sunday, so I wanted to work on her so I could get her done, hopefully, before session starts, but we'll see how far we get with her here. I'm hoping that the black I used to prime dried well enough, because it is an enamel. I'm gonna let it sit out for a couple hours, but I know sometimes you need to be careful with it, so I'm hoping that it coated nicely and is gonna stick, but we'll monitor that as we go on. And because she is a wood elf, she can get more of a warmer skin tone, especially since she spends most of her time outside and not indoors. Which I'm excited for. I don't tend to, as painters, we tend to paint what we're comfortable with and what we have available, and sometimes, unfortunately, Caucasian is just the most common thing to paint. So I'm excited to do more of a different skin tone, get some practice in on it. Again, right now, just getting a good base coat down, making sure at the moment that the cloak has color everywhere it needs to be. This is the stage where you don't have to be too careful on where the color's going, because most likely you'll end up coming back over with more detail at a later step. So don't fret if paint gets where it's not supposed to go. That fretting is for later. So far, so good. I also love these olive tones. They're really, really pretty. The Fanatic set. We're using a mix of different paint brands, as I tend to have been more want to do recently now that I have different paint brands instead of just one. Good start though on the cloak. Let's go back through and see if I missed anything now. I think a second little coat just to make sure that it's covered properly. The other thing I have to get better at, especially in painting, is patience. I am not very good at letting my paint dry. I tend to make mistakes because of it, because I think that a color is brighter than it actually is because it just hasn't dried yet. She's wearing, like I said, for most of this it's probably going to be the black brown, and then I'll really start to work on the textures as it moves up from that. But just to get the base coat down, I think starting with black brown has been kind of like my go-to recently for anything leather. I just think it's such a gorgeous tone from Procryl. It's really deep and like almost a chocolatey brown, and I love that. Funny enough, as I say that this is going to be a pretty one-tone character, it is the tones that I tend to work the most with. I'm very big on using greens and browns, and I think it's just because they're easy for me, because I see them in my kind of everyday life. My wife has very olive tone skin, and I like when they wear greens and earthy tones and things like that, so I have a good reference for all of it. And then when the time comes, I'll also work on the base as well and all of these lovely ruins. It's actually one of the things I didn't even know existed for Eldritch Foundry, was the fact that they have access to these like really cool heroic bases. You saw one of them on the Blood Hunter that I did, where it had the Yeti under its foot, or the Yeti head under its foot. That was one of their heroic stances. This one is Scout, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's another one like this called Assassin, where they're basically like facing forward. Which I like a whole bunch. Yeah. Also, the video for the last stream I did before I kind of, I won't call it a break, it just, I was out of town, and so just a bunch of stuff happened. Should be up on YouTube right now. That was the Stay Frosty with the Winter Wolf and the Frost Giant that I started, who's sitting right here actually. I wanted to test something out on her because I realized that I'm not very good at like glazing and things like that, and underpainting, and I've been watching a lot of videos recently by artists who I really like the work that they do, including but not limited to Ninjon, Monument Hobbies, Miniac, etc. And some of them have been working on underpainting and then glazing over that stuff to get this like really nice effect. And also I wanted to work on skin tones. So I actually, let's see if I can use this new feature I have. Boom, look at that. Secondary camera. It's a little slower, unfortunately. I'll probably have to get a nicer camera. But on the leg here, I painted highlights on, and then I glazed over with the mid-tone. And on the bottom, there's darker tones too. I actually really like the way that it looks. So, yeah. Also, again, I'm sorry. The camera only runs at 30 FPS, so it's going to be a little bit more. What's the best word for it? Start and stop, I guess, is what the term that I want to use. But it's a new angle, a different angle, and hopefully my head doesn't get in it too much, which it looks like it is. Which is fine because I can move this up a little bit. Give you guys a better look at the model itself instead of my head. Kind of just testing it out right now, see how I like it. And if I really like it, I might just put some money into a new camera just for better video quality. I also think that's as zoomed in as it can get. Oh no, it can get zoomed in more. Wait. Stop for a second there. There we go. Just give you guys a better eye on what I'm painting. Trying to make sure that it's in focus. I just tend to paint pretty close to the model, so I just want to make sure that my head's not getting too far in it. And if it is, I can move this around the camera and make it work better. But yeah, so that's another thing that I have access to now. Get her little wrist guards as well. Really funny. You'll see when I start working on the base, I didn't notice at first, but the way that it printed, I guess I just forgot to. I was doing a bunch of characters very quickly, but I guess I forgot to move the the cape, and so it was just stuck. Like it was literally moved through the column right here. So I just had to go in with a rotary tool and fix that up a little bit. I.e. get the cloak off of it, because there's no way that this cloak is going through solid matter. Just doesn't make sense. Support down there. The only issue sometimes with that is like when I try to print them on my printer, and it's not, this isn't an Eldritch Foundry thing, this is just literally a printing thing. Sometimes the supports just get put in places where it's very hard to get them, and by proxy get them off. So it's something I'll have to focus on moving forward when I do character models and things like that. Again, that has nothing to do with Eldritch Foundry. That just has to do with my somewhat still amateur understanding of 3D printing. All right. For her bow, a piece fell off. I didn't even notice. I thought that I had gotten it off pretty cleanly, but I guess I didn't. So I already had an idea for what I'm gonna do, so we're gonna go more of like a lighter wood for it. Maybe like a yew bow. But we'll get there in a little bit. Oh, I was wrong. Tiger's Eye skin is actually not the deepest. I don't want... I definitely want to start with Tiger's Eye skin. I thought Tiger's Eye was the deepest. I was wrong. So this is a warm skin tone, so it's going to be more of a reddish brown. I do have some other skin tones I could work on as well. I forgot I have that drab brown. Damn. All right, well, I'll get to it. So we're going to... She does have eyebrows, but I'm going to paint those on later. Right now, it's just getting, again, that base coat on so that she has colors where they need to be in most of the places that they need to be. Gorgeous skin tone too. It looks so good. I'm working this in on my another model that I'm painting as well that will be available on the website once it's done. It's a Midas Forge model with which I haven't painted a lot of their models, but I do have a merchant license through them. So I was like, you know what, I want to start being more productive with the companies that I do have merchant licenses for, instead of just being like, hey, I've got these merchant licenses and they're not doing anything with. But this model really spoke to me when I saw it, so I was like, I'm going to print it out. I'm excited to get it painted. I've already got a good idea of what I want to do with it. Just gotta sit down at the desk and actually like work on it. Oops. And again, well, you always want to be somewhat careful with your painting. This step is the step where it's okay to make some mistakes, because again, you're most likely going to go back over these areas later on when you get closer to the finish line. So don't feel bad if you accidentally get paint on something that shouldn't be painted, or a color where it shouldn't be, because you can always go back and cover it up. I'd say the number one lesson that I've had to learn painting is that it's okay to make mistakes, and that mistakes are a very natural part of making art, as I've come to find out, unfortunately. Oh. Right now we're doing the skin, because pretty much everything else has color on it already. Again, like I said, because she's pretty simple in her color scheme, a lot of the details will be the majority of the work here. Genuinely can't remember if I gave her gloves or not, but I'm doing this as if she doesn't, so I'm just going to continue doing that. good on the skin. I can see. Go back through and hit this with. And what I might end up doing is adding some green back into some of this leather by just adding some of the olive to the colors that I use moving forward. But we'll get there when we get there. Also, keep forgetting to do this. Do it now. Humidifier. Alright, and then she is an older elf. So we're gonna go with, I'm gonna start her hair off with a specific color. Because her hair is a wrapped. What leather would I wrap it in? What would she wrap it in? Probably brighter leather. We're gonna get this drab brown opened first off, because I haven't even opened it yet, because I just picked these up not too long ago. Found a really great hobby shop that has probably one of the best miniature painting sections I've ever seen at a local game store. So, and they had the Adepticon. They had a lot of protocol stuff, which is what I've been looking for recently. Because I really enjoyed using their colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take some black brown and then mix in some of that drab brown. It's a little too bright right now. And then when I get closer to being done, part of the detail work that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to add some red-gray streaks going through her hair, show that age. She has that kind of traditional, very, you know, wood elf look. Just making sure I get color where it needs to go on here because I want to make sure the hair looks good. I do really like this drab brown color, it's really nice. But yeah, we'll go in with some red gray later to put in some graying hair on our lovely Elven Ranger. Alright, that's pretty much the base coat done for the character. But now I'm going to start working on all the other pieces. Which should be a little bit easier because I'm just going to a little bit darker than that. But it's definitely going to be darkened down by the I'll start with Castle Gray just to make sure. I don't want to overdo it. Aside for now, and get a bigger brush. And let's switch over to the other scene and try and not get in the way of it. That's going to be really difficult. I probably should have put it. No, it's fine. What I'll do probably is just move it over that way. Here, let's actually see if I can do that. Sorry, this is gonna probably be a little weird if you're watching this on screen more even. Still trying to figure this angle out. So my head doesn't get in it too much. Oh, that's actually a lot better. Because my head's not in it and I can just get down into it. So that's probably what we'll do. Leave this one up for a little bit. You get a different angle on it. Let's get some Castle Gray in here. I'll thin this down quite a bit. Not crazy, but definitely a lot. I want it to just move on the model easy. This is still pretty thick. Not what I want. That is more of what I want. And I don't mind if this goes down thin because it's going to get a nice wash over all of it. And then get brought back up later. I really want to grime it up and, you know, give it a nice weathered effect. So I might even use some Noosh, which I have not really used at all. I have a tendency to buy some things and I go, I'm going to use this, and then I never use it. And I want to get out of that habit. That's actually one of the things that I have tried to do best I can with in New Year. is actually working with the materials that I have and using them. I'm starting to print more and do more things, and I really want to actually like follow through with ideas that I have for, you know, battle maps or things like that for my D&D games, and get those painted up and really focus on, you know, maximizing my output in the hobby. The convention in December that I went to, and then I was like, wait, I have another convention I'm going to. So that's why I'm not in panic mode really. I'm in the zone of painting recently where I'm just doing my best to churn out as much as I can and the best quality I can, so I have stock available in the store. But that's also one of my issues is I'm not a perfectionist, but I want to do my best because I don't want to sell anything less than my best, which sometimes can be a hindrance to getting a bunch of things out quickly. So, and then, okay, so because it's printed in a very opaque, not even opaque, it's solid. So yes, opaque. I'm an idiot. Because it's printed in a very opaque resin, I could have printed it in a translucent resin, but I didn't, because I like the detail that the higher quality, more opaque resins give. So because of that, the glass parts of this are most likely just going to be painted, hopefully in a way that gives off the effect of being glass. I've never really done it before besides with like small flasks and things like that, so we'll see how that goes. But there are some broken window panes and things like that, so hopefully I could get it painted well. And again, because this is going to be weathered, I'm not worried too much about the coverage, because the more dirty the coverage is, the actually easier it is to convey that weathering that I want to do. So right now we're just focused on getting paint on these sections. Because little known to my players, there are little known to some of my players. Some of my players who actually live out in these spaces know this, but there are ruins out in the forest, which is part of the reason why I picked this base. Because I was like, this actually kind of fits the theme of where this specific character spends most of her time. And will fit really well with some stuff I've got planned coming up. Really, really excited. So, fun things on the very near horizon that I've been kind of holding to myself for about 3 years now. Always fun. switch back. This one has a little bit better FPS anyway, so. But the color I'm using right now is Castle Gray. It is the lowest tone in the warm grays and white family. And it looks really good for pillars and things like that. But it just depends on what color you want. I'm more of a cool toned gray person myself when it comes to painting like ruins and things. But because of the specificity of these ruins, I think it fits a little bit better that they're this color. So this is what we're going with. Plus, I think it'll just look really cool. I'm a big archaeology buff. I literally went to school for it, so seeing this kind of tone in any kind of architecture is a very normal thing for me. The base, though, like the actual bottom part, is going to be covered in a texture paste, because this will be found in the woods, as she will be as well. And once again, as I've said, because of the stage that I'm at currently, you don't have to. And if you're ever finding yourself painting and listening to this, when you're doing a base coat, you don't have to worry about being perfect on the details for everything. And especially for something like this, it actually fits that the details aren't perfect, because again, this is going to be weathered and, you know, brought down to a different tone. So just be okay if you accidentally get paint in places that it's not supposed to be. When you get to the detail work, you know, be a little bit more careful, but on the base coat, it's really, really not that important. You just want to get paint on the model and covering up your prime as best as it can. And then later on, you can start focusing on the detail of making sure that colors are where they're supposed to be and aren't where they're not supposed to be. And then when she gets finished as well, I'll probably come back over my normal matte varnish on the window panes and put in some gloss to help give them the color that they need. Which I am trying to figure out what would be best for it, because Trying to think back. Out in the woods like this, it'll probably have more of a green tone. So we're gonna go with start with leafy green and then work our way up from there. Well, I was hoping that it would get it out, but it has not. Normally these Dentec flossers are great for airbrushing, but I can't seem to find my old cocktail pick that I used for forever for cleaning out the tips of these dropper bottles, which is unfortunate because it worked really well. Right? Oh, it's still giving me an issue. All else fails, just put a little bit, lift the tip, put a little bit on your palette, and then continue on. I'm gonna do the green pane. And again, because it's a weathered piece of glass that looks like it's probably been out in the woods for some time, having a little bit of variation on the opaqueness of the paint can really help sell that effect. So thinning it down a little bit more than you normally would and just literally painting until your brush is exhausted of paint can kind of help give a effect of light passing through something that you're painting. We'll have to do this on the backside too, but that's fine. And then what we'll do to help continue to sell the glass effect is just put streaks in places where the light would be touching, which is going to also bleed into how we highlight the model as well. So this glass can be both a help and a pain for painting. Because it'll help you show the fact that there's light, but you'll also have to paint the light on the model to match it, because if you don't, it'll kind of just look a little wonky. But luckily it's pretty forgiving in the fact that it refracts light so oddly. Pretty like normally how something would refract, but oddly in the way that it can refract in many different ways. Oh, I did forget to paint the bow. To do that. Just want a little bit more on here. All right, and let's do the bow. I said what leather she would use. Because the bow itself is going to be a lighter wood because of what it is. So we're using birch from scale 75 to start. Color would you choose? I'm gonna do black leather, which is a little bit purple, which I think fits very well with the motif. sand will look good with the green as well. So, yeah. It'll still probably get just an earth wash on it, or a earth shade. But make that decision in a minute. Okay. That's a base coat on pretty much everything. So now comes the fun part. Which I will not be using this brush for. I will be using a different brush. We have a flesh shade. But do we have earth shade? I do not believe we do. I have the flesh shade. So, the flesh shade I will be using. Oh! But I believe strong tone is the most related to Agrax. So that's what we're going to do. With hopefully just a little bit of water. Down a little bit. No. Use this brush for that. So we're gonna go earth shade or strong tone over everything on the pillar, including the glass. And I'm not gonna do it super heavy, but I am gonna do it pretty heavy. Again, I want it to look as if it's weathered. And then when I come back in later, brighten it back up. Alright, now we'll start using a little bit more care. Ironically, pretty much everything is going to get this, except the bow. The bow will be getting, at least the wood on the bow will be getting our shade. Can paint over that, but everything else. And this is Reikland Flesh Shade, which I'm just kind of using for everything. Armor or leather, skin, kind of a catch-all. But normally I would do Earthshade on things, but I think it'll just be easier to get Flesh Shade on pretty much everything to give it a universal kind of like shadow. But we'll see if that backfires or not. I don't want too much on there. I say as I lather it over her entire body. I think Flesh Shade just tends to lend itself a little bit better to leather because like it is a flesh of sorts. But if you want more of a darker tone, you definitely can go the route of like an Earthshade or of the sort. We'll see how this dries, but honestly, I think it should be fine. It's a little glossy right now, but I'm not too worried. Alright, and then she's going to need some time to dry because shades take a little bit longer to dry than other things. Meantime, work on something different. That strong tone back there, you back up there. Yes, I could also clean up a little bit. A lot of stuff left out from other paint jobs that I did. Camo. Black leather I will keep down here. And the camo I will also keep down. Remember, deep gray, put it back. Resplendent red. I finally finished painting the Van Dents. Brown, opal skin, ash gray. Ruby skin. Leather brown. Camo. Triad brown. There. Brigadine. Actually, I'm gonna keep these down here because that's for the giant. Straight skin shade, you can go back. Gray Castle, you stay. Legendary red. Dragon red is a cool red. You don't go there, you go there. Right, and metallic. All right. Flesh shade, you can go back up here. Ooh. All right. Get some work done on this. I love giants, man. They're so much fun to paint. Let's see, what are we gonna work on? Like I said, I did a little bit of shading here with the glaze, or I could work on Tobias, but I think I want to work on her. Similarly, have it get. I think I started with Thunderous Glue. Work similarly. That is heavy glaze. I want nice glaze. Yeah, like the glazing just looks really good. It has a really nice fade effect into it. I'm just horrible at it. Wearing this so that my oily hands don't get wreck the paint off of it. This looks really good. Ironically, I'm probably going to put some gray in there, so it's not going to matter that much, but... Oh, well! Yeah. What I want is... I think I started with fur brown on that, which... for Dryad. But I covered it with ruddy fur, so... I started with cheese. Maybe it just started with oak brown. Let's see. And I'm just going in and putting really thin lines down. I wanted to do this quicker. Could just dry brush because there's already pretty good texture on it, but I want to get good practice in on just doing the brush control of doing like really thin lines. Making sure I got that down and not over brushing like there. While also maintaining the surrounding textures. And you probably won't be able to see it too heavy right now, but as I start to move up with the colors and do more lines and things like that, it'll become more apparent, and it'll take a lot of time to do, but I think the end result will really be something that I am proud of. So and another part of 2025 is, you know, challenging myself to do new things that I haven't necessarily done before, and sometimes those things take more time than what we're used to putting in, and that's okay. In the end, it should help me with that patience bit and being a better painter. I'm so used to painting very small things in a short amount of time. I really want to start working on painting, you know, similarly small things, maybe some larger ones, but really understanding what it is to take time to add texture and light and color to a model in a way that really helps me grasp the art that the sculptors put into this and the time that they put into it as well. So And sometimes you can get away every once in a while with just doing a little bit of an edge highlight on things, and fine, especially when you have a time frame you got to adhere to. I don't really have a time frame right now besides just the stream, so going through and adding little lines to accentuate things, and maybe go back over where my fingers might have accidentally brushed up against the model and taken some paint off. I think is an important thing to do. And the issue sometimes with this is it'll be hard for me to figure out where I've hit already and where I haven't, especially since the colors kind of tend to meld together after you've been staring at them for a while. I'm sure I'll figure it out. Best thing is too, time that you want to be a little heavy-handed is on this step. Because on this step, kind of laying down the base texture for the rest of it, and having a little bit of a heavy hand on a darker color just means that you have more shadowed pieces or more darker pieces of that fur. So, not the end of the world. Really where this shows up well is when you have a non-textured cloak. You're putting in just that extra bit of work to really help accentuate the furry aspect of the model. We'll just help it look cool. And that's really all we want to do with models, is have them look cool and good. So now what I'm doing is I'm just painting on the skin some gray. But I will go back over later with another pass of the blue glaze. Because I want her to be more of a grayish blue, but I don't just want to use the grayish blue colors. I want to challenge myself to try something different and see if I can get the effect that I still want. I'm just gonna lightly painting on some gray on this and go back over that with the blue later to just bring that blue tone back. Start working in other tones as well. Just where the brightest on it. Just so I'm keeping that gray tone in there. This is just for the fur bits around her gauntlets and shoes. Wanted them to be like a white tinged brown, so that's why I'm, or a brown tinged gray, I should say. They're painted in the same tone as the scales and such. All I'm doing right now is just making sure I use the paint that I put in the palette, which is just that strong tone. Watered down a little bit. She's still drying. Probably work on her tomorrow and finish her up and then take a picture of her so all of you lovelies can see. Just drab brown. Actually, I think a very nice lower tone for the light neutrals family. And normally I would get the base tone down on everything first, but for her I was just kind of all over the place, just painting what inspired me to paint. So now I'm working on getting some color on places where it needs to be. These horns up here probably going to end up being at some point bone some kind. Getting them colored as such. Been really digging a lot of the Pro Acryl colors recently. I'm really glad I added some of them to my paint station. This drab brown is really nice and is a really nice base for, again, like the light neutrals that I have for like bone and things like that. So I'm excited about that. And it dries really, really nice and matte. I think I said this was going to be... You know what? Even if it ends up being white later on because I changed my mind, I think having this as a base tone is a good choice. That's what we're going to do. Nice and covered. Because originally I had the thought that like, oh, this is like a dragon bone pauldron or whatever. But thinking about frost giants and where they're most commonly found, I was like, well, maybe it's actually like Remoraz chitin, which would be a fun thing to paint. But it's also very blue, so I was like, I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there. I have a long way to go to finish her, especially to the level at which I want her to be done. But she's looking good so far. Got a really nice color scheme. I'm really happy with the colors I chose. I already had some background in there, so this works out really well. Originally, I thought these might be pieces of metal, but the way that they move on the model, I think they're more than likely leather with metal rivets. Paint them as such. And then most likely soon for streams coming up, I might be starting to work on some terrain bits. We might take a step away from the uber small and start some work on some terrain pieces because I got some companies that I have terrain merchant licenses with, so I want to be able to use those. Oh, and I completely missed this bit. So kind of color tone that I want to go with. I believe this is 2. starting to shape up pretty well. Excited to see how she turns out. Got about 13 minutes left. Aaron's still drying. Let's see what else I can work on. Got a couple of things that I could probably get started on. Not this guy. I have this fun idea for. I think it works out really well. Just the basis of what I had an idea for, so I'm gonna get started on it. So for this, I really want him to have like a green glowing effect. From like the interior of the rib cage. What I do is first and foremost paint white inside of here. Oops. That's okay though. No, I don't want to close it. Why are you being weird? Sorry for the loud noise. That's better. I don't know why it just closed like that. But the white here is so that when I do like a fluorescent over it, it'll show up really nicely, which is the hope. Again, I really want the, like just the rib cage. I don't really need it anywhere else, except maybe the eyes. But now I'll be able to use that Fred Brown. And there are some like tiny flowers and stuff on here, but I will go back over those and paint those later. Right now, again, I'm just kind of focused on getting paint on the model because this is one that's been sitting for a while and I want to get it done. I like the way that it looks. It's one of my favorites. I think it was from the it's from which song, but I think it's from the Persephone war band thing Kickstarter that they did. But I can't remember off the top of my head. It'd be nice just to have some paint on the model so it's something that I can look at and be like, yep, I need to work on that. I think that sometimes is my issue is I look at something and I go, that's a lot of steps, but if I just do a couple of the steps at a time or start with a couple of the steps, makes the overall model take less time because I've already completed some of the things I need to do. It's kind of what I'm doing here, is just getting paint on it. Even if I end up changing the color later, just having some paint on it will catch my eye when I'm sitting down, so I'll be more likely to continue working. You need more of that drive round. I also need to make sure this is closed. This is probably where we'll finish up today, but as I said earlier, the plan for today was to work on a mini bit of everything, and that's kind of what I did. Sometimes it's important to have those days where you just put a little bit of work in a lot of things, so that way later on you can put a lot of work into fewer things. And just harp on the detail. Every time I listen to someone, they're like, I really wish I had someone who could just base coat my models. And I never really understood that until I started painting more, and I was like, you know what? I get that. Man, I would love to be able to skip the most important step and just get to the detail work. But as I just said, it is the most important step, making sure that there is paint on the model. So that you can get to those later steps. This thing kind of lends itself to be look like it's made of wood, but I still want it to have some like beast vibes to it, which is why I'm painting the antlers as if they would be actual antlers. So that's why this was my color choice for this. But other aspects of it, I might go with that vibe of painting it like it's made of wood. But for now, I think that this look is cool. And it's like an undead stag. So I'll probably add some. And it's got very wooden textures on it. But it also has fleshy bits, so it's just like, it's kind of an amalgam. And I think that's why it drew my eye, because it's just got so many different textures on it, and I just want to figure out what each one is. And this will probably be more of a display quality, which is fun. So yeah, like these spots right here that look like they're more like fur could be like mossy. There's a bunch of growths on it, obviously. There's fur down here. Yeah. We'll see where I go with it. I might paint it on stream, I might not. But it will get painted. Holding myself to that. There are some fun bits of it that are kind of showing through in a bony way, like this. I might paint as bone as well. Because the bones and the antler are going to have similar looks to them. Just kind of using the same tone for now. This looks like it still has some flesh on it though, so I'll probably keep that the way it is. This part. And then to keep the motif rolling, maybe I'll do some of that green coming out of the mouth too. Just for fun. Who knows? This could be my best piece yet. Here, I'm just starting to call out this one. Alright, but that's going to do it for me tonight. Got some really good work done on a few things I'm super excited about. So, yeah. We'll see where this takes us moving forward. But for tonight, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. If you're a Critical Role fan, fucking get ready. 8 hours. I'm not going to watch the whole thing tonight. I'll probably dip out at a certain point, but yeah. If you aren't already following the channel, please do. If you have the financial ability to, consider subscribing or purchasing something off my website, wheelersminis.com. It would mean the world to me. Follow me on my socials if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching to the end. It really does mean a lot to me. Yeah, I think that's it. So, like I said, have a great night. I will see you all next Tuesday. And until then, I don't know, paint some minis. Good night.